Welcome back to another installment of Shoot Conversations with Chris Hero. I'm Chris Hero, and I am delighted to introduce you to my guest. We've got Private Jim Nelson, Sergeant Jim Nelson, Mr. Russia, Boris Zuhkov, and
Zuhkov.
Yes, then later Boris Zuhkov. Yes. Man, how are you doing today?
Good, I'm doing good.
Good. How do you like doing these conventions?
Oh, fun, yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to do one. Of course, couldn't do none last year because
Yeah.
of COVID.
Yeah.
Last one I did was in 2018, so it's been nice to make it back to one.
Yeah, a couple years.
Yeah,
Does it surprise you, the people that you see and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen them in years?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, getting to see the boys, that's a big thrill of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I find about wrestling is you'll spend a couple years around someone, all week long, week in, week out, and then you change companies, and then you don't see them for a decade.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you see them.
Then you see them again.
Wow, boom.
Yeah.
Just pick up right where you left off.
Exactly. Amen.
So, humble beginnings. I believe the date was December 13th, 1959, Roanoke, Virginia.
January 29th.
January 29th,
Yeah.
man. Contrary to what you may believe, not everything on the internet is correct. So
Yeah.
January 29th,
1959.
1959.
Yeah.
Baby boy was brought into this world. Roanoke, Virginia?
Roanoke, Virginia.
Roanoke, Virginia.
Yes, sir.
What was it? What memories do you have of early life and family life and such growing up?
Oh, growing up where I grew up in Roanoke and stuff, and had a great mom and dad, very strong Christian people, and raised
Yep.
my brother and I up the right way, and all that. So, but yeah, it was things back then were just totally different and stuff,
Yeah.
than what they are now and stuff. The schools were different, and
Yeah,
just life in general.
Yeah, and you did you have an older brother or
A younger brother, 4
Okay.
years.
You were the big brother.
Yeah, I'm the oldest. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you play any sports growing up?
Yeah, I started in Sandlot football, and then
Yeah.
I started in junior high, and then into high school.
Yeah. So you played football all the way through high school.
Yeah.
What position were you?
Mostly defensive back.
Defensive back. Wow.
Yeah.
Jackie Fulton. We interviewed him yesterday. He was also. I think he said he was a strong safety. So, yeah. That's a hell of a position.
Yes.
So football was the sport you kind of connected with the
football
most.
and weightlifting.
Weightlifting.
Yeah,
That would
because that was a
come.
big part of the program.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, and that would come in handy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Do you have memories of the first time you saw wrestling?
Oh yeah, just sitting at home watching Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling on
Yeah.
Channel 10 because it came on at 1 o'clock every Saturday.
Yeah.
So it was always
Yeah.
tune into TV and watch wrestling. And,
Yeah. Who were the stars of that era?
At the time, I really started getting into it. Johnny Valentine and
Yeah.
Johnny Weaver, and Ole and Gene Anderson, and, Paul Jones, those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about Starland Arena.
Oh man, is what a place that was, and just what a part of Roanoke is in now. It's more of a business thing now, but it's a very very quiet place. Big building sat on top of the hill and stuff,
Yeah.
And wrestling started at 8:15 on Saturday night and stuff.
Yeah.
And as soon as you'd hit the door, you could smell that popcorn,
Yeah.
And Coke was a big thing there, because my granddaddy worked for Coca-Cola. So
Oh, okay.
that was a big advertisement there was Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
And the big thrill for me was that one time I got to go see Jack Briscoe as a world champion
Wow.
wrestling Paul Jones there.
Wow, that's
that was-
awesome.
yeah.
And you would sit in a car with Paul Jones a time or two over the years.
Yeah, over the years, yeah.
Yeah.
Jack Briscoe too,
Yeah.
And then,
Wow.
these guys, and of course one of the favorite guys under the hood back then was Don Jardine, Super
Yeah.
Destroyer.
Yeah. Later the spoiler.
Later
Yeah.
the spoiler,
Yeah.
and he was really big there and stuff.
Yeah.
And then Wahoo McDaniel, remember Wahoo coming
Of course,
in?
yeah.
So Sonny King and Bearcat Wright. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
great guys.
When did it start to kind of percolate in your head a little bit that wrestling might not be 100% shoot. When you were a kid, did you question it at all?
Some, yeah, except but some of the matches were so stiff, like Johnny Valentine was just brutal. You know, every match he was in was snug. You know, and Wahoo and the Ole and Jean. Their matches were just it was. You would doubt it when you'd see matches like that. Big time, because they were so stiff. They were snug.
When was it that you found out that wrestling was, guys kind of working together? What was your introduction to that aspect of pro wrestling? Did you know before you started to get into wrestling yourself?
More as I got into high school, my senior year, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to the matches all the time and stuff, and working out hard, and it was just something I wanted to try and give a shot at. You know, once I got a break for somebody to start, you know, and then I met a dear friend of mine and stuff from our church introduced me to Rick McCord.
Rick McCord,
he worked for an auto body shop there in Roanoke, and him and another man, Mike Weddle, they had a wrestling.
Eclipso, I believe his name.
Up in Salem, you know. And Mike had a ring behind his house. And he introduced me to him and another guy, Steve Savage, and then they took me to the training gym down in Roanoke, Virginia. And it was a boxing ring. And put me through that, and boy, it was brutal because this was on a Friday evening after I got off of work, and I couldn't get up the next morning. I couldn't hardly move because it was so stiff, that ring, you know. And they poured it on me, you know. But I decided to keep going back.
You must. There must have been something that made you feel a little something.
Sure did.
Hey, tell me a little bit about Mike Weddle. Tell him about Eclipso. I know he was a local Virginia guy. I know he helped you out a lot when you first broke in, and then, you know, a decade or so ago, you ended up doing a little bit more with him. Tell me about Eclipso.
Because he was a few years older than me and stuff, but he was big going to Starland Arena. I never got to meet him at that time and stuff, you know. So, but him and Rick McCord both, but. He worked out and trained hard, and he started working independent shows a few years before I did. So he had a lot of experience, and he studied wrestling. He studied it. It was on because back then, you know, he was just on like a Saturday afternoon, and then Saturday evening they had the Worldwide Wrestling came on, but then you had TBS on Saturday, you know, and so but that was about it as far as TV went back then. But he was a big student of wrestling.
What is Mike up to now?
Well, he's retired now. So, and he hasn't hadn't been able to wrestle in a long time. He had to retire from that too. So.
Does he promote or do anything wrestling related with some local shows or anything?
Yeah, he does some stuff with some local shows. In fact, the local show up in Rocky Mountain a few months back put me into their Hall of Fame. You know. So that was a great honor. Because it was home. You know. Because originally the training gym that we worked at in Roanoke, the guy that owned the gym and the ring and all that was a boxing guy. And the funny, his name was Rocky.
Of course.
And he moved the facility down to Rocky Mountain. And so what was great for me is getting to go down and trained out of there, and I moved on from there. But then I got to come back full circle, and that's where my last match was in Rocky Mount, Virginia in 2013.
Wow.
So.
Wow, 2013. That's awesome. So you end up making your debut in 1979. Is that correct?
78.
78. Okay. 78.
May of 78. Yeah. In fact, just because I graduated June of 77, so May of 78, I had my first match.
And tell me about how did you get booked for the show? And what was the experience like?
The organization at Eclipso and Steve Savage and Rick McCord had wrestled with him too. But at the time that Rick got me started training, he got a break to go work for Nick Goulas in Tennessee. So he'd gone, but Calypso and Savage got me hooked up with Don Hogan, who ran a promotion there and stuff, and they got me booked into a match.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
it
was Newcastle, Virginia. It was an outside show.
Wow.
So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Were you a little nervous?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. A whole lot of bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so,
what name did you use in your first match?
this is plain old Jim Nelson.
Just plain old Jim Nelson.
Yeah.
You hadn't enlisted yet.
No, that was long before
Yeah.
long before that.
Yeah. You end up making your way to Atlanta. Eddie Einhorn. There's a group called IWA. You work a little bit there. Tell me about getting an opportunity in Atlanta when you were young.
Atlanta was there was a referee that worked with us too and wrestled some too. Mike Ray, and he and there was a couple other guys too and stuff. But he was able to get Ole's phone number, Ole Anderson.
Yeah.
And I finally give Ole a call
Yeah.
and stuff, you know, and told me to come to TBS down there on Channel 17. So I got my first chance to do a match on TV. I teamed with Mike Starlins,
Yeah.
and I had to go in the ring against Ole and Ivan Koloff.
Ivan Koloff.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was great because I'd watched them both, you know, through the years, so I knew exactly the stuff they did, you know.
Of course.
So and what they was going to do and all that. So because they didn't tell me anything.
No.
We just went ahead and went in the ring, you know. And but I'd watched Ole long enough and Ivan and stuff, and I knew what I needed to do, and I just went there and did what they wanted.
Didn't make it too difficult for them?
Oh, no.
Yeah, make them look good?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe this is a bit of a silly question, but at this time, did you know that Ivan Koloff was not Russian?
Not completely. I found out later.
Yeah.
Ivan's from Canada.
Yeah, Canadian.
Canadian, yeah.
Which
he wrestled for Red McNulty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that would end up becoming a part of your career.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Ivan Koloff. He's just a nice Canadian
he was
man.
one of my favorite. Yeah, when he came into Charlotte, I said, man, who's this guy? You know,
Yeah.
and he was incredible to watch.
Yeah.
Because he was in great shape and just went. He was constantly moving.
Coming off the top rope.
Off
with a big
rope,
knee.
yeah. He was an incredible talent.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Let's see. Mighty Igor, Mil Moskris, guys like that were on one of the shows.
Yeah, the IWA, because the IWA, I started coming in there and doing shows, you know, and I got to go see them guys and stuff. So yeah, that was great too.
Yeah.
In fact, that's one of the first times I've seen Bill Eadie was one of the Mongols.
Yeah.
So that was neat.
Yeah.
So,
Also a guy that you'd spend a good amount of your career with.
Oh yeah.
It's funny to think back to the first time you met them, and then 15 years later, you're both here at the same place doing completely different gimmicks.
Right.
So you're doing these matches here and there. You're doing some TV. You're kind of doing some enhancement matches. When did you start to feel like? When did you start to gain a little more confidence into your in-ring work? Like your capabilities, you felt more comfortable. You were doing more, trying more.
Well, early part of 1980 and stuff, I went ahead and moved to Atlanta and stuff, and because I had Mom and Dad had a good friend that owned a skate supply place down there, Southeastern Skate Supply.
Yeah.
So I went down there and got a job with him, and the towns in Georgia were so short, you know, back and forth, you know, and I was able to get booked on TV and do the house shows on Saturday night and some on Sunday, like Marietta and stuff like that and stuff. And I started getting more experience, you know, and they started using me more, and that helped me out too. Yeah. And it became a weekly thing. So
shorter loops, not like Mid-South where you're driving 10 hours here, 9 hours there.
I think the longest trip was like Augusta. I think it was one of the longest trips we had. So,
not bad.
Not
bad. What connected you to finally working for Mid-Atlantic?
Ole got me booked up in Charlotte for 10 days for them. They needed some help or whatever. And,
Yeah.
George Scott was a booker and take a look at me and stuff. And I gave it everything I had.
Yeah.
Because that was my home territory, you know.
Yeah.
And that's where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So,
You're wrestling in arenas that you grew up watching.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing on TV.
Seeing on TV
and sharing locker rooms with guys. Just a couple years earlier, you were watching.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so I went up there and worked it, and George and them and the Crockett's liked my work and said, well, we don't have a full opening right now, but when it comes up, we'll let you know. And it was just, it just turned out to be a few months later, they had an opening, and I went back to Charlotte.
Yeah.
So.